Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm filming probably the video that I'm most excited to film. By the way, if my voice does sound a little bit deeper, I am a little bit choked up at the moment. I've actually got a lem sip for while I record this because my throat literally feels like I'm swallowing knives. But I'm going to be filming a running journey video, and I wanted to kind of tie my running journey in with my fitness journey because I think the two things come in hand, and if I just kind of foreshadow my running journey, I feel like I'm leaving out my fitness journey. I've been about getting into the gym because I think that's where it all does start. So I wanted to kind of include the whole picture so you guys can get a big understanding of it all. I also wanted to share this too because I think if anyone listens to this or watches this, and if there's even one part of my running journey that you can relate to, or you feel like you might be at that point, or if you watch this and it inspires you to pick up running, then I'll feel like I've succeeded because that's exactly what I want to be able to do and share and just show everyone how capable they are. Running/fitness journey started when I was really young, and I've always been a very sporty child and a very competitive sporty child too. Even on sports day, I was always, I could feel it bubbling up inside me. I wanted to win even the egg and spoon race. Like, I was in it to win it. I was the girl who was taking PE as seriously as the Olympics. And I've never really thought of it as a bad thing. I think it was just something that I really felt like I could excel at school in the PE department. I never really specifically ran in school. Obviously, a lot of the things you do in school PE wise involve running, but I didn't really dedicate time to just running. The only runs I really remember doing when I was younger would be if a boy hurt me, I'd go on this really fast, like, it must have been about a mile run, and I'd go on this loop. I remember I'd stick my iPod Nano, locks onto my leggings, put my earpods in, run as fast as I could. Like, it must have been an all-out sprint for this mile, come out back gasping with air, and I thought, this is part of my comeback. But apart from that, there was no other running involved in my childhood, really. So I kind of wanted to break this up into kind of my whole lifespan of fitness, from primary school to secondary school to young adults to now, just so people can get a big picture and really see my whole journey and everything that I've trialed and been through to get to the point where I am today. So I guess I'd start with primary school, and in primary I was definitely a keen sports person. I don't really know the best phrase for it, but my top sport in primary was actually football. I went through a strong tomboy phase. I genuinely looked like Justin Bieber, and I vividly remember taking a Top of the Pops magazine into the hairdressers, picture of Justin Bieber back in the day when he released One Time, and pointed to the picture of him and said, "That on the head, please." And she did. And let me tell you, it was not a good look. But that was just a little bit of a tangent. So in primary school, my main thing was football. I used to play football with the boys at break and lunch, and I genuinely think that's what made me into a really good footballer. But it was always just something that was included in my life. And from primary, I ended up becoming quite good at football, and I played for north of Scotland and Aberdeen for my age group, which was where I lived at the time. So I was sporty in primary. Then when I came out of this tomboy phase, I met some friends and they played netball and they played hockey. So kind of coming into secondary school, coming out of the tomboy phase, although I still liked playing football, I started to play hockey and netball. Now, I think if I'm being completely honest with myself, I don't really know if I truly loved hockey and netball the same way I loved football, but my friends were doing it I think I was okay at it, and it was more of just a social thing. We would turn up each week, we would do the training. I think we trained maybe 2-3 times a week with hockey, and then we'd have a game at the weekend. And then same with netball, we would maybe train once or twice during the week, and like I said, it was a good time to socialise with friends. So this is kind of why I don't want to disinclude that portion of my life, because I think when you really break down football, netball, hockey, there's so much running involved, and I actually wish I had a watch at the time, because I reckon you do rake up about probably between 6 to 9 kilometers per game. So although it's obviously interval style of training in that you're going slow and fast, there was definitely running within me, within my body. The only other, like, I was always someone who hated running. I just didn't think I could do it. And I vividly remember in secondary school, my mum was training for the London Marathon, and she would run, say, 4 times a week. And she'd be like, please, Sophia, come out with me, come and do this 6-kilometer run with me. And I would literally look at her and think, you must be crazy. I'm not running. I can't run. And we used to come to a compromise that I'd go on my bike and she'd run. So I would cycle along beside her while she ran. Sometimes Ollie would come out with us, her dog, and run too, but there was no way in hell that I was running. I just didn't enjoy it. I used to just, and I think when you repeat something so many times to yourself, you do just start to believe it. I just thought, I don't like running, I'm not a runner, and it's just not for me. When you look back at primary school, secondary school, all the running that's really involved is really high intense and it's fast. So that's really all I knew running was. And for me, that was painful. That was tough. So I was like, why would I want to prolong that or do that outside times that I don't have to? I think I've just remembered actually from school too, we did do like sports day kind of races. So there was like the 100 meters, we maybe had the 400 meters, and then we had the 1500 meters, which was everyone's least favorite, but that was the one that I was quite good at. I wasn't so good at the like shorter, snappier stuff, but the 1500, I wasn't actually that bad at. And we never trained or anything in school. It was just, you know, whatever we did at PE and, you know, all the other activities I was doing outside that. But I remember specifically, there was this one day that it must have been a big mash of loads of different schools in Aberdeen, and it was a 1500 metre race, and my friend Laura will back me up on this. She'll probably remember exactly where we did this because she has the best memory in the world. But we turned up to this race, me and my friend Laura, and I vividly remember this because I must have known at that point that I was not different, but standing out, because I remember looking around and all the other girls beside me, and we must have been about 16, maybe a bit younger, maybe 14, 15 at the time. And I remember the girls beside me were in their like proper cross-country gear, little pants, little vest top. I remember vividly I was in my green Abercrombie jumper, which I loved. I'd got it from America and I didn't take it off. And I was in the like 7/8/3/4 length leggings, Adidas, probably purple stripes, they probably didn't match the green jumper, low-waisted little pocket at the back, you guys know the ones. I remember that's what I was wearing, not proper running shoes, probably just whatever I could find that day. And I remember looking around and thinking, why am I here? Why am I here? But I was like, I'm at this race event, I'm just gonna have to run. So I think there was like a couple of people selected from our school to go do the 1500 meters. I ran the whole 1500 meters in my big green Abercrombie jumper, and I came third. And I remember it so clearly because there was 3 of us, and all 3 of us ended up getting disqualified because essentially we'd accidentally stepped 1 foot outside the course. But I came third. And I think like little moments like that are things that I've kind of reflected on, and I've realised, okay, maybe my running journey didn't actually start 3 years ago, and maybe it actually started a lot longer than I think. So yeah, there's just some bits of kind of my background that I don't want to kind of leave out so people can get an understanding of it. Anyway, fast forward to university and first year of uni, I was the most classic first year student, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with. I think everyone maybe needs to go through a little bit of a phase like that. And I did no exercise. I went out 3 times a week, was getting super, super drunk, and my nutrition was not good. I had the worst sleep schedule ever. I remember I had one lecture and it was a Thursday morning because Wednesdays was like our big nights out in Aberdeen, and it was Thursday morning and I had this like mandatory lecture that I needed to go to at 9 a.m. and I'm not joking, I remember waking up at 9 a.m. when I'd have to go to this lecture, and it genuinely felt like 3 a.m. in the morning when I was waking up. Like, I remember feeling exhausted. So that shows how mismatched my life was compared to it is now. And even when I was going through that year of my life, I always knew that it wasn't right for me and that's not really how I wanted to live my life. I would do the classic thing where on Monday and Tuesday, I would do a bit of exercise, I would eat really healthy, and by Wednesday I was going out and the rest of the week was just a write-off. But I always had that burst of motivation. I knew that deep down that was something that I wanted to be able to maintain, but unfortunately at that point in my life, it just wasn't feasible. We're to second year of university and I met someone called Natalie, who I feel like she probably won't realise, maybe she'll watch this, and she had such a profound impact on my fitness journey because so she was my flatmate at the time and she was definitely much more advanced when it came to the gym and everything at that moment in time. And so bear in mind, like, I've had a year off exercise, no hockey, I dropped all my team sports. It was just like that portion of my life was gone. Anyway, Natalie introduced me to fitness influencers and specifically people like Megan Grubb, Grace Beverley, Whitney Simmons, the kind of Gymsharky girls at the time. And I'd never seen anything like it before. She sat down with me, we watched their YouTube channels, and I was like, wow, these girls are insane. Like, they look incredible, they're training so hard, they're super consistent, they're motivated, and I just feel like I hadn't really seen that before. It really spurred me on. It really spurred me on. So me and Natalie used to kind of help motivate each other a little bit, and I definitely wasn't consistent at that time, but we would go to the gym together, and I remember I didn't even have like proper gym gear or anything like that. I'd literally just wear like my bed top. Again, do you know what? I feel like my 3/4 leggings were still playing a part in my life at that point. Then any trainers I could find, and I would try some classes at the gym. When me and Natalie went together, she would kind of like show me the ropes. One of her friends is a PT, so she'd kind of shown her some basic movements like deadlift, squat, hip thrust. So she'd kind of run through those with me, and we would basically just kind of go on to these girls' accounts, have a look at what they'd posted, copy their workouts, and yeah, that's kind of what we do. I would say we definitely weren't consistent, but I would maybe go once, twice a week, which was obviously a big jump from what I'd been doing before. So yeah, I think that basically sums up second year. There wasn't much more to it than that, but that was kind of my journey into fitness. Now, when I hit third year, that's when it really ramped up for me. I started going maybe 4 or 5 times a week. I was super consistent. I was feeling a lot more confident in myself too, because how I first got into fitness was quite aesthetic based. I've probably stayed the same size as I am now throughout my whole life, but my body composition has just changed through that time. So I've put on more muscle, lost more fat, and my composition of my body has just changed over time. But yeah, I wouldn't say I was ever like bigger or smaller than I was now, but I was just kind of, I didn't have much muscle or substance and I just didn't feel confident. And I think coming off the back of first year, it probably just didn't help that I didn't have much kind of consistency in my life with my confidence. So by the time in third year, I definitely remember feeling more confident. I remember I got a pair of Gymshark leggings, and I remember vividly the first day I went to the gym just wearing a crop top too. And yeah, big moments like that that all happened in third year with that consistency. Now, still at the time, I don't remember seeing like massive results. I remember feeling more confident, but I don't remember really changing the way I looked, or really knowing what I was doing in the gym. I was still kind of clicking on random workouts, deciding what I was going to do in the day and just going to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not the most efficient way to train. And again, I still remember, because some of my flatmates were really into running and they were telling me, they were like, why don't you come on a run? And I just again looked at them and I thought, you're crazy. Like, I'm not going on a run. I can't run, no. And when I seen people running like a 5K, I was like, how on earth can you do that? It's just not for me. Anyway, coming into 4th year, and this guy on my course, he was like, why don't you come to the gym with me? And I was like, okay, sure, come to the gym with you. Remember clearly, it was a Saturday morning, met him at the gym. He was like, let's do one of his, I don't know, pull sessions, push sessions. And we did one of the sessions together. And he had everything. This is gonna sound so like delirious, but he had everything written down in his notes what he was doing. And he'd done the same workout for, say, 4 weeks, and this was his 5th week. And he'd been writing down his rep range, how much he'd been lifting. And I remember being mesmerized by this, because I was like, I have never seen anyone do this in my life. And he would obviously be sticking with his workout, lifting heavier, performing more reps this week. And basically, this guy, he taught me progressive overload, which I'd never realised was a thing before. I just thought you go to the gym and you lift what you can and you leave. I didn't really think there was, or I didn't really know how you got stronger, and I just thought that would come with time, but I didn't realise that you actually needed to challenge yourself each week, which seems silly looking back on, but I think everyone needs to go through these phases to understand the whole methods of training. So I trained with him, and he was teaching me about, you know, taking things to failure, about really pushing yourself in the gym, about progressing from the last week. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. Anyway, I was like, can I come and train with you next week? And he was like, yeah. Came to train with him next week, and we had like a little bit of a schedule of training every weekend. But yeah, he really had a big impact on me, because he really taught me and showed me how to really get those results that I was looking for. And that's when I really started to notice changes. That's when I really started to notice kind of my muscles changing. That's when I noticed my strength increasing. And that's when I really noticed and knew how to push myself in the gym and push myself hard because of him. So yeah, very grateful to all these people that make up your fitness journey that you come across, that just have more knowledge than you do in the moments. Anyway, I remember him at the time, and this is where my running journey starts. Him at the time, he was like, alongside my goals, I'm going to try and get a faster 5K. And I thought, you can't lift weights and run as well. And I was very much under the whole, like, if I try and run, I'm going to lose my bum and I'm not going to be able to go to the gym, and why would I do that? A bit of like a classic bro mentality probably. And he was like, no, like, it won't harm you, especially if you're only doing it once or twice a week and it's not that long, all this kind of stuff. So I was like, maybe I'll try this too. And I had my squats on Twist account at the time, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna run my first 5K. And I did my first 5K on the treadmill, and it was in 30 minutes. And I remember creating a thing on Scots on Toast called Fitness, and I think I had 3 goals. One was maybe, say, hip thrust, 150 kilograms, one was a deadlift goal, and then the third one was 25-minute 5K. And I said, let's get fit for Christmas, we're calling it Fitness, and these are my goals. And I don't really remember having much structure to my running. I was definitely only running once a week, and each time I ran, I would try and get a faster 5K, which now looking back is crazy, because imagine every time I went on a run I was trying to get a 5K PB, I just would get absolutely nowhere and I'd be exhausted, and I would definitely still hate running. But that's what I was doing, and I think it took me maybe 12 weeks and I managed to get my 5K PB. I don't know if I got it to 25 minutes. I think it was closer to 26:30 at the time. But I was really chuffed with myself, because obviously where I started from to where I was. Anyway, I'd got this goal and I'd been running a little bit And I remember just thinking one day, it was a really nice day outside. It was still kind of like January, February time. And this must have been coming into, I feel like this must have been coming into 2020. So maybe it was January time. And I remember just thinking, I'm just going to put on my trainers and I'm going to see how far I can run today. And I remember running from my flat, doing a big loop along the promenade in Aberdeen and coming back. And I didn't used to track many of my runs. I didn't have Strava. The first time, I don't even know what I used for the first time. I almost want to say it was a timer. Like I almost want to say I actually put my stopwatch on, but then how would I have known it was 5K? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I did. But I remember I downloaded the Nike app to do this run because I was like, I'm just going to see how far it is. I did the loop, and then when I came back, I stopped it. I didn't look at it once. I didn't even know how far I was going, what I was doing, etc, etc. I came back, clicked pause, and when I was at my flat, I think I just screenshotted it and uploaded it to my story. I didn't really think much else of it. I didn't think I even really looked at the stats. And then I remember someone replied to me and they were like, this is amazing. And I'd done like an 11K within an hour and something. I mean, it wasn't a fast time or anything, but it was a moment that I thought, and the person who said the comment to me was saying like, you've done really well. Like that's a really, really good, starting point. And I thought, oh, like maybe this whole like running malarkey thing, maybe I can do it. Maybe I was labeling myself as this person who didn't run, but maybe I actually can. And I think I did that loop a few more times. And each time I did it, I was, again, just not really looking at the data and I was just enjoying it. I was putting my headphones in, just trying to really take it all in. And yeah, that's kind of where it was going from. So I think then I started running about 10 kilometers a week, let's say, consistently. And I remember it really translating. So I joined hockey back again in third and fourth year. I was in the fourth team and there was only 4 teams. So I definitely wasn't as good as I was in school. But again, I was just doing it for the socialising. I remember hockey training and we would do these kind of like long warm-up drills and we'd be running back and forth across the field. And I remember feeling exhausted doing some of them before. But I remember when I started running, I was doing those drills and I thought, this is feeling a lot easier than it did. And I think little moments like that really encouraged me because I was thinking, okay, I can still go to the gym 4 times a week. I can just add this run in once per week and I'm really enjoying it. So that's kind of where the uni experience of running started. And from there, it became lockdown and I moved home. This is March 2020 now. So I moved home because it was obviously COVID and we'd actually finished uni in the March graduation, but moved home to finish the rest of uni, gave up our flat in Aberdeen. And honestly, like I found lockdown really tough fitness wise because for the first little bit anyway, because I was so used to going to the gym and that had been taken away from me and I did find it really tough to begin with. But that's when I discovered my love for running. It just was started as that once a week. And then I began to build it up. So I would run twice a week. And each time I ran, I started to feel different. It was no longer a case of, just go for a run and see how you feel and just try to enjoy it. It was I'm going for a run and I'm absolutely loving this feeling. I think in lockdown especially, I personally definitely needed it for my brain to kind of have that escape and have that freedom, but I was getting feelings that I'd never felt in the gym before. I was going through waves when I was running, and I think the runner's high for me comes throughout the run in waves. So I'll go through points where it'll be really, really rubbish, and then I'll go through points where I feel amazing and on top of the world. In those points where you feel amazing and on top of the world, you literally feel indestructible. And every time I'd get those feelings, I'd come back and I'd just feel amazing. Now, I was definitely still running these runs too fast and I was coming back absolutely dripping with sweat, but one thing I was gaining from these runs was my love for running, and lockdown was where it really started for me, and I would build it up. I was running twice a week, then I started running 3 times a week, then I started running 4 times a week. I think I was probably up to running about 5 times a week in lockdown, and honestly most days I would do the same 7k. It was a 7k loop, round by my house. I knew where I was going, down the road, little hill to come back, down the hill on the way back, and I did it, started off my day every morning by doing it, and it just set me up so well. It was really good for me mentally, physically, and everything in between. And yeah, that is just my moment of running is amazing and running's for me. And I was still kind of strength training a little bit. I think I had a couple of dumbbells in the gym, some 8kg kettlebells, 7kg dumbbell, 20kg dumbbell, but I mean, there wasn't anything that was going to seriously build me any mass, but it was enough to kind of keep me ticking over. I remember just using like the Fit app and things like that too in lockdown. So yeah, now this kind of ties into me becoming a PT, but I want to put this in another video. I remember a couple of days, it was like a couple of days during the week and a couple of days at the weekend I would do a longer run. So I would push past the 7k mark, maybe bring myself to 10, and then on the weekend I started building it up. So I think I got to 12, and then I got to 14, and then I got to 16, and then I was just using it as my way to explore Edinburgh. I didn't really know my way around, and I would use Strava Route Builder. I would create myself a little route and I would run it, and I figured out where everything was. I found all the cycle paths, I explored new places of Edinburgh I'd never been before, and it was just so good for my headspace. So I built it up, and I remember one weekend being like, today I'm going to run a half marathon. Now, I had built it up, so I was at, say, 16, 17k before this. But my running journey, like, I still didn't have a watch at this point. I didn't know really my paces. I was just taking my phone out with my Strava and nothing else. And like, when you're first starting running, I think there is so much gear and there's so much amazing things out there right now, but I honestly think your core needs to love what you do, and your core needs to have like a big reason why you do what you do, because you can have, you know, they go, all the gear and no idea. I don't really believe in that saying, but I think love it, figure out why you're doing it, love the sport, love it for what it is before you get everything else, because that will come and there's no rush to get that, because that core element is the most important thing, and that core element is what's going to carry you through all those tough points when it comes to races, when it comes to events, everything like that. This half marathon, I went out, which I would not advise now, with no water, no fueling, but I completed it. And when it was tough. I remember that being tough. Like the last couple kilometers, I remember thinking, I can't do this. And when I finished it, I was in such awe and shock. I was on this little track bit outside my house, and I was telling the people that passed me, I was like, I've just run a half marathon. And they were like, well done. And I was like, yeah. And then I was like sitting on the bench, and like there was somebody on the bench. I was like, I just ran a half marathon. And these people must be like, this girl's insane. But I think for me, it was like such a big moment, because I'd always seen people and my mum complete these races, and I just didn't ever think they were in the cards for me, because I'd always labelled myself as a not runner. So weird, I remember all this so clearly. And yeah, again, stopped my watch, went inside, told my mum and all the family for the rest of the day. They were probably like, yep, we know. And then I remember sitting down with my mum, and I was like, I'm gonna run a marathon soon. She was like, Sophia, you've just done a half marathon, like you need to go through a proper marathon block of training. And I was like, no, I think I could do it. I think I could do it. And I think I was probably just giving it the big one, because I definitely remember struggling on that half marathon. But I think it gave me that mental boost that I needed to be like, you are capable of these things if you really put your mind to it. Anyway, fast forward, say this was maybe July, August time, maybe a little bit later. Boyfriend at the time, he kind of latched on to my running a little bit, and he started running too, because I think me feeling this way was maybe just quite infectious. And I was like, I really want to sign up for an event. Obviously there was no events going on during that period of time because it was lockdown. And he was like, me too. And he was like, I was going to do a marathon last year. And I was like, yeah, let's do a marathon. And he was like, no. He was like, let's do an ultra. I've not even ran a marathon. Like, what makes you think that I could do an ultra marathon? And I think he literally just finished reading David Goggins' book at the time. And I was like, okay, like, I don't know how it all transpired, but I agreed to sign up to an ultra marathon. It was a 50-kilometer one, and it was on the Mull of Kintyre, and I believe it was like May time in 2021. So yeah, that was my first race. My first race was an ultra marathon, and I started to train. So I started to build up my mileage, and I started to ramp up really quickly. And I remember I was ramping up really quickly around Christmas time because there was snow on the ground, and there was one particular run where I just slipped slightly, left leg went, IT band was gone, and I was devastated because I went from running 5 times a week, having such a positive impact on my mental health and just my well-being and everything, to not being able to run at all, and I found it so tough. I actually bought myself a colour by number to paint the times that I used to run. It wasn't a good swap, but it did distract my brain a little bit. So I was really panicked. I was seeing multiple physios and they were all saying it was different things. I remember actually going to Accident and Emergency one time because I'd basically done the classic thing of diagnosing myself online and thinking I'd actually like pulled my ligament. So I was like, right, I need to go to A&E, and didn't end up getting it seen to or anything like that. But they were basically, I think they said it was my ligament. And then I went to another physio a couple of weeks later and he was like, no, it's just your IT band. Give it another couple of weeks and then you need to get back running. But basically within this time, I think I thought that I wasn't then able to complete the 50-kilometer race because it had been so long. I think I'd taken a good 5-6 weeks off running. So that must have brought me to about February time. And maybe the race was April, but I remember only having about 5 weeks until the race, 6 weeks until the race, and I'd not been running for a huge amount of time, and I don't think I'd ever ran more than 23 kilometers. Now, bearing in mind, also another side note, this trail event, this ultramarathon was in the trails. I'd never ran in the trails in my life. There's a couple of like trail routes near my house, so I was definitely subconsciously exposed to that because I was running them, but like they didn't have any drastic elevation. This event was like 600 meters elevation, 50 kilometers of trails in the Mull of Kintyre, a place I'd never been before. So it was hugely outside the comfort zone. Now, I think when I got better, I definitely didn't increase my mileage sensibly, and I definitely was still running too fast, but I managed to get my runs up to, I think, 34 kilometers, 32 kilometers. That would have been the absolute max. And I remember I did 2 of those in the trails, so in the Pentlands in Edinburgh, which I absolutely love running in the Pentlands. It's a trailed route. You just feel so free, and you're literally just you in the hills, and it's the best feeling ever. But yeah, I remember doing a couple of them for training, and I remember doing one, say, 2-3 weeks before the race, which was my longest one in the trails. So I think when I completed that, I thought, right, my leg's fine, this is going to be doable. Did my first ultra marathon and was very, very humbled by the whole experience. I mean, I was not going for any kind of time, I just wanted to complete it. This was going to be my first marathon, and it was also going to be my first ultra and my first race. So there were so many different things for me that I was ticking off in this moment. And there was a kit list for this race. Now this shows how disorganized and like how my brain just wasn't working for this race. And zones, and the way this ultramarathon worked was you would put your drop bag A in one car, drop bag B in one car, drop bag C in one car, and that would take you to the aid stations. So I think there was 2 aid stations throughout the course, say one at maybe 20k and one at 40k, or one at 30 something K, and then the finish. So you could take your fuel with you and have enough, grab more fuel at the stations, grab more fuel at the stations. Now, I stupidly put all of my bags in bus number C, which was to go to the finish. So I got to aid station number 1, say 20k in, ready to pick up my fuel because I just brought enough for my 15k or the 20k and no more, and my bag wasn't there. And I remember thinking, I don't have any fuel. Like, I genuinely do not have any fuel. And I remember the little woman at the aid station, she was like, do you want a strawberry? She offered me something else too. An apple or a strawberry. And I was thinking, as kind as that is, I just don't know if a strawberry's gonna cut it. Went to the next aid station. I got there miraculously. I have no idea how. I walked a lot of that race. I got to the next aid station, and now this race, like, the ultras I've done since I've been with Ultra X, which is a super new organised ultramarathon company. The Mull of Kintyre race is definitely an older ultramarathon, and some of the aid stations, like, there wasn't even humans there like supporting you or checking you were okay. It was literally in the back garden. I remember there being actual bouncy hoppers in one of the gardens. Anyway, miraculously, one of my aid bags had got to that next station, thank goodness. Topped up my fuel, got to the finish. But when I crossed that finish line and when my foot stepped over that line, I just hadn't felt a feeling like that before, of completion, of thinking, what on earth did I just go through and how have I managed to actually finish? All of those feelings just made everything within that race worthwhile, and all of those feelings made me think, like, I just love this and I need to pursue this more. New books. So after this event, I was like, okay, I want to learn more about the sport, and I became obsessed with Courtney Dowater, who's still one of my absolute idols to this day. And alongside her, I read Born to Run, which is a bloody amazing book, and another few running books too. One was David Goggins' one as well. And they all just kind of hyped me, inspired me, and made me realise like how much we are actually capable of. I'm going to do another ultra, but I'm going to do it with this Ultra X this time round because they seem super organised and I just want to do another one. So I had a year between these races and I started training for it. I was running throughout the time, so I was still running, say 4 or 5 times a week. I was back to my 7k loop, back to loving it. I was doing more trails, really exposing myself to all these different elements of running and seeing what I enjoyed the most. From there, got to my second 50km race and I was like, this time round I'm going to have a plan. I'm going to take it a little bit more seriously. I'm going to really learn about running. I decided I was going to become qualified to become a run coach as well, because I just thought there's not that much support out there for runners, especially like online run-based coaches, and I just wanted to learn more for myself and to be able to help other people too. So like I said, I'll put this in another video, but second ultra round, with my newfound knowledge and also following a plan, I signed up for my second ultra and I felt a lot more confident going into this one because I trained properly and harder, and I'd ran a couple of marathons before this one. And my second ultra was another 50km and it was up in Inverness in Scotland with Ultra X. This race was a 2-day race and I remember seeing people come from finishing day one. One girl who I used to work with this trail company, and she was coming in finishing day one just having done 60-70 kilometers as I was away to have my dinner and then go to sleep to start the second day, and I wasn't doing day one. And I just remember her coming in and thinking, oh my god, that's incredible. Like, I have never seen with my own 2 eyes, like, I've just been introduced to the ultra world and she's just done 2 ultras. She's going to do 2 ultras. Like, she's put me to shame. I'm doing nothing compared to her. But I just found her so inspiring. Obviously every single person that was doing it that day, but I think was just because this was someone I sort of knew. I just thought that's so unbelievably inspiring because it's something that I didn't think that I could do at the time, and I just thought it was mesmerising. So I headed out for my race on that day too, and to be honest, I actually felt really defeated by that race because I thought I'd trained really, really hard and I just wanted to get a better result than I did. So I finished, felt a little bit disheartened. The moment I finished, I signed up for the 2-day and I thought, that's it. I'm coming back and I'm gonna do this race again, and next time I come at it, I'm gonna train even better, I'm gonna train even more specific, and can come back and just feel like I have given this my absolute all. So that's what I did. I signed up for the 110 and I dedicated, I think I took maybe about 6 months off to really get my strength back and everything. I'm gonna get a run specific coach. I'm gonna learn as much as I can. I'm gonna build as best as I can and see what I'm capable of. So I think I started training for this event seriously in October, and I trained all the way till May. And I'd followed all my training plan to a T. I'd listened to everything my coach was saying. I'd learned so much from him as a coach as well, which definitely helped me as a coach. And I was terrified. I was so scared. It was so out of my comfort zone. And ready, set, go, we set off. And I basically just stuck by Chris the whole time. We ran it together, we were chatting, we were just having a good time. It was a great route. And it wasn't until I was at aid station 3 and we rocked in, and the aid stations at Ultramarathon, if anyone's done one of those events before, are incredible. They cheer you in, they're the best energy. And when I ran into that aid station, they were like, do you know you're the third lady? And I was like, what? And they were like, you're third. No, I'm not third. They were like, no, you're 100% third. And I looked at my friend Chris and I was like, what? Like, he was shocked too. So we just looked at each other and I was like, that's it. I'm going for it. Because if I'm third, you're telling me I'm third right now, like, I want to finish third. So from that point, I think we had about 20 kilometers to go. We literally just were gunning it, and we power walked up that hill and we just ran the rest of the way. First day we finished and it was 64 kilometers in the end, and I absolutely loved day 1. Going into day 2, it was a bit of a different story. It was the same race that I'd done last year, so I think going into it I kind of thought, you were a bit defeated by this last year. And I did feel the pressure because they'd announced on social media who was first, second and third at the moment, and I thought, right, everyone knows now, so you've got to maintain this. And accidentally took a few detours, but in the end ended up coming third overall, and I think that's one of the proudest moments of my running career. Like, I could cry when I think about it, just because that was something I looked back at a year ago before and I thought I couldn't even cover that distance, and then being told that I was third was just, I just couldn't believe it. And with, you know, getting my running qualification and learning and having this coach, I just learned more about kind of like slow running and building up your aerobic base and all the importance of that. And I think all that pieces together in your running journey and makes you into the best runner that you can be. To this year, and obviously I've just completed that past 250 kilometer race too. And I guess that takes me up to this point today. I've obviously spoken about the 250k race in my first video, but that's my running journey. And yeah, that's where I'm up to right now. So yeah, if you feel like you can relate to any of these points, or if you feel like you're listening to this and you're like, yes, that's me, you can reach out to me, we can discuss it. Like, if you listen to this and it inspires you, like, that's what I want you to achieve. So yeah, I think for me as well, like, the point of races that becomes addictive is like proving to myself and showing to myself that I can. I think I was always someone who, I was smart in school. I was going to say I am smart. I was smart in school, but I never really got told it. I always got told, you know, you're good at PE, but you're not really like good at much else. And I don't think I ever really felt those feelings of pride and like I'd really, really achieved something that my friends did. And I think running gives that feeling to me. Along with my love for it, I think it gives me those feelings of, you know, pride and doing things that you didn't think you could do and new feelings and everything. So yeah. Okay, anyway, you guys had another couple questions in my question box on my Instagram, which were more kind of questions about running in general, but I did want to touch on them and just do a little kind of Q&A at the end so people can have some more takeaways from this video too. Okay, so first of all is best running gear to start off with, and I would literally just say a good pair of trainers and your phone. That's all you need to start off with. Download Strava, put it in your pocket, don't look too much at it, and go off feel. Like, the best gear is you. And I would definitely recommend a good pair of trainers, and if you're looking for a good pair, head into your local Run For It, or I think there's like Run and Beyonds or Run and Becomes in England, and they'll allow you to run on the treadmill. They'll analyse your feet, they'll see what shoes are kind of best suited for you, and they'll give you lots of different ones to try on, and you can try on as many as you like and they will help you out. So running trainers, you and your phone is all you need to start off with. Okay, how to stay motivated in the cold months. It is really difficult, but joining a run group, warming up before you go out for your run, having a good playlist, remembering your reason why you're doing it, and you can go on the treadmill if you like as well. I know treadmill running's a little bit, people either love it or hate it, but if you feel like, you know, where you live, maybe there's not a safe route to go running, or you don't feel comfortable doing it, even just hopping on the treadmill or joining a class or something along those lines. But run groups are a massive good one to join. Okay, a simple warm up to do before you head out. Simple warm up is literally a couple of reverse lunges, a couple of lateral lunges, a single leg Romanian deadlift, and then some pogo hops. So when you jump your 2 feet together, simple warm up that will kind of get all the muscle groups switched on, ready for you to go. How do you stay motivated? I don't know. I think it's probably just part of my lifestyle now, but I think the best thing for motivation is like having structure as well. So I say to my clients, like, have a look at your week, plug in the times you're working, plug in your social occasions, and look at all the other time slots you've got and put them in for your workouts. If it's going to be an early morning, you need to get an early bedtime. If it's later night, then make it one of your shorter sessions so you can come back, have your dinner, and get back to bed early. So I guess with motivation, it's so unreliable because it comes and goes. It can come for a day, it can come for a week, but it can leave just as quickly. So having that discipline and reasons why you want to do something. And if you don't feel motivated, there's a couple of things. Just go and give it 5 minutes and see how you feel after the 5 minutes. And if you still want to come back and you still don't feel motivated after 5 minutes, then fair enough, you've given it a go. Another good one is, if you feel like you've only got 30% that day, just go and give 30%. You're not going to feel 100% every day. So, you know, you showing up and staying consistent is the key. Everything else is second. So that's a good one. Okay, mental blocks when running. So if it's points where you're like, I can't get past this certain distance, I'm really struggling with XYZ when it comes to running, I think two things: visualization and positive kind of mantras to yourself. Visualization, I think, is so powerful. When I did that 110 race, for weeks, months before, I was visualizing me finishing, me feeling strong throughout it, me doing well, all those kind of things, and really look at all the, you know, imagery you've got of the course, and imagine yourself feeling good, feeling strong, all those feelings you're going to feel when you cross the finish line, because our bodies can't really differentiate the two. So if you really feel those feelings, your body will feel like it's done it before. Another thing is like really positive mantras throughout. So where you hit a dark point where you're like, this is hard, like I can't do this anymore, and this is really tough, and I'm struggling, all these kind of things. Just keep saying really positive things to yourself, like, I'm so strong, I've got this, I'm capable of this. All these kind of things. Just the cringiest things, the better, because you're the only person that's going to hear it. So you may as well just be really, really cringy. Okay. Setbacks when it comes to running, I feel like my main setback was my injury when I first started running, when I was out for 6 weeks. But obviously with those setbacks, it's about doing your rehab, talking to professionals, taking it seriously so you can get back to doing what you love as quickly as you can. Really slowly, really steadily, you know, follow a plan would be my key thing, because you just don't want to end up overdoing it, and just follow a simple rule of just increasing it really, really slowly. And if it feels like too big of a jump, it probably is for your level. Okay, so I think I'm gonna leave it there, otherwise this video is gonna be so long, but that concludes my running journey and a Q&A and where I'm up to right now. But yeah, if anyone does have any questions, just leave it in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer them. But hopefully you can see the point that I started at and relate to if you feel any of the ways.